Stay-at-home orders have forced many Canadians to depend on couriers, people delivering pizza or a grocery order right to your door. The pandemic has kept them busy, but that work comes with a risk, and some say not enough respect. A few of them shared their stories with our Nick Purdon.
I work really hard. Everyone that goes out there and is delivering you food or delivering you goods, they're working very hard.
Meet Brice Sofer. He's delivered food for Uber Eats off and on for the last 6 years. And since the pandemic began, it's become his full-time job.
When you order food, you're ordering it because you don't want to go outside. The weather's probably terrible. You're getting someone to bring it to you, either by bike or by car. In both cases, it's very tough.
During the last year, we've all come to depend on delivery of food, groceries, pretty much everything. We've become accustomed to having things arrive at our door. But the reality is that people who do that work take risks so we can stay home. Makes me wonder how the pandemic has been for them.
The job's changed during the pandemic. There is always the stress of possibly contracting coronavirus. We're often in restaurants where it's pretty tight at busy times. There can be a lot of couriers all bunched up together.
Almost as soon as the pandemic began, delivery workers were among those deemed essential. But around the same time, something else happened to them. Something you might not know about.
Uber cut our pay by half during the pandemic. I've felt that it's a lack of respect from the company. It really doesn't jive with the idea of us as essential workers. There's that rhetoric that we're so important, that we are helping stop the spread of the pandemic. But the result has been that I've just had to work longer and harder.
Are you saying you don't feel essential?
I feel expendable rather than essential.
Uber admits they did lower base fares during the pandemic, but they say they now pay extra for the time couriers wait in restaurants and the distances they travel. They also made the system more transparent. Workers now know exactly what they'll make for a delivery and can choose not to take it. Still, many couriers say they're making a lot less than before. Meet Jennifer Scott.
The pandemic is not over, and I'm being paid the lowest amount of money that anyone has ever been paid to do this job in Toronto.
Jennifer is the president of Gig Workers United. It's a group trying to unionize app-based workers. She doesn't just want better pay. Right now, gig workers are considered independent contractors. She wants them to be employees instead and have all the benefits that go with that. And Jennifer believes now is the time to push for change.
It is important for us to recognize that the pandemic has made it easier for other people to see the value of what we're doing, and it also makes it a little bit easier for us to connect with each other. Because as gig workers, when we're out on the road and we see each other, we're like, oh wow, I see the sacrifice that you're making. I understand why you're out here working. I am too.
In 2016, Statistics Canada estimated there were around 1.7 million gig workers in the country. But that number seems to have gone up during the pandemic. All you have to do is look outside. You might see someone like Houston Gonsalves. He's 34, and he's worked for Skip the Dishes for the last 2.5 years.
Doing this job in a pandemic, it's difficult because you don't necessarily feel safe at all.
Houston says for him to even earn minimum wage during the pandemic is a challenge.
I'm in what I believe are very dangerous conditions. I'm out in the public. I'm entering restaurants, I'm entering apartment buildings, and at the end of the day, my concern going home is I live with my elderly parents. So I don't know if I've brought back COVID back to the house. There's always that potential, and at their age, it's stressful. As a result, I limit my hours and I limit the amount of income I can make.
If Houston doesn't work, he doesn't get paid. It's that simple. There are no sick days for independent contractors. And I talked to one courier whose identity we've protected, and he told me how during the pandemic he made one of the toughest decisions of his life.
If I don't go to work, my rent doesn't change, my bills don't change. So during COVID, I have gone to work with symptoms of the virus because I don't have paid sick days. And I probably seem like a terrible person right now, It's a terrible choice to make. I resent that I'm made to make that choice. I feel it's so unfair. I wish I didn't have to.
He told me that he knows other couriers that have made the same decision.
If I ever found out that I made someone sick, if I ever found out that I had, potentially harmed someone, I would feel terrible. It's terrible, but I have no choice.
That's the reality of the pandemic. The balance between how much you work and how much you put yourself and those around you at risk. It's a decision made every day. Still, Brice knows that the pandemic has made his job more important than ever.
I do have that sense of pride. I'm very happy to help the community. I'm very happy to help people self-isolate. I've delivered to people who I know were staying at home because of COVID.
And that's why Brice wants to keep working. Instead of walking away, he's joined with Gig Workers United to fight for the job he loves.
And I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to stay until we win the rights that that we deserve, that we all deserve, until we can come together collectively and we can sit at the table with the boss, look at each other as equal, and get the rights that we need.
Perhaps one of the things we can learn from this pandemic is to take better care of those who keep us safe. Nick Purdon, CBC News, Toronto.